So, Full Gear was phenomenal, as expected, usually by an AEW pay-per-view. But this one felt a bit different. It was, I don't know, the ending's a big part of that, but we're just going to go through, talk about the Tailgate Brawl and the main show, and it's probably going to be a long one, as usual, but it's a great show, so I can't wait to talk about it. First match on the Tailgate Brawl was the 4-man tag for the $200,000. Now, it was it was the Acclaimed, Austin Gunn, Big Bill and Brian Keith, and the Outrunners. Now, full transparency, Triller is possibly the worst thing ever invented, but it's also a good way for me to watch AEW over here. And if you were watching Triller stream, it was awful. It didn't work for like 10 minutes. So I basically missed a lot of this match. I missed the entrances and stuff. So this one, I haven't really got too much to specifically say about the match. The main thing is Juice won, and I thought the Acclaimed would win. I was wrong. Juice is definitely back to being a maniac, and he got the $200,000. He started grinding the floor, to put it lightly. The main thing about it was the Acclaimed actually did team up and show a bit of tag dynamic, but they messed it up and cost themselves the match. Next on the Tailgate Brawl was Big Boom AJ and QT Marshall, now Boom and Doom. This is RPG Vice. Now, if you know what Big Boom AJ's like, he's not really trying to be the most technical guy, but it's just fun, entertaining. Paul White come out, Big Show come out, that was fun. The Rizzler was wearing a cape this time, so, real worker. And just a solid fun match, hard hitting, just dumb. But the main thing about the match is, obviously, RPG Vice attacked Big Justice again. And then Big Justice hit a cutter out of nowhere. And he got some hair for a kid, like that size and everything. He got some hair. And he was just dumb. Another Big Boom AJ match, the second coming was sour. So, thank God. And, yeah, just dumb. Now, for possibly my match of the night of anticipation, it was the CMLL Trios belts versus El Sky Trio, I think they're called, from CMLL, Mystico, Dorada, and their friend, I forgot the name of again, and Don Callis family, Okada, Takeshita, and Hechicero. Now, very important to note, one, Okada did not show. He deliberately did not want to come because he was team with Takeshita. The match itself, so the match started, so it was only Takeshita and Hechicero versus the three of the luchadors. But then Takeshita and Hechicero took Mystico out the match, and we dragged away. So once that happened, the bell finally rang. So it was kind of interesting. The guy whose name I forgot was great too, and Dorada's great. They were all great in the match. Hechicero, obviously. Now, the main thing I'm quite happy with is that I predicted that it would bleed over from the pre-show to the main show, but the match fully did. But when it was the match, midway through the match, it shows on the screen, Okada pulls up in his car and then doesn't enter till it's the main show. Mid-match, full entrance. It was great. It's just, Okada's just shameless. It's hilarious. And then when he enters the ring, Hechicero, because of the CMLL history with the trios belts, is begging them to stay and, be on the same side. Like, proper begging, not overacting. And Okada puts out his hand to shake Takeshita's, and then he flips him off again. But then they try and tag as a team, trying to win the match. And Okada hits the Rainmaker. The CMLL belts are retained. So they did lose the match due to this. It's clear that it is those issues. It was great, if I'm honest. It was a great little match. I was glad that it got a bit of time because of the bleed over, and I was glad that they really incorporated the Okada Takeshita stuff in the match. After the match, because of the finish, it's clearly Okada's fault because he took Takeshita out. And then Okada got taken out by Takeshita. Okada's apologising to Takeshita, and Takeshita just looks at him while he's on the ramp. And I thought they were setting up Okada getting attacked by Takeshita then. So the turn did not happen, which is wild to me. Absolutely wild. But yeah, as a match, I thought it was really fun. It wasn't really... There was not a lot of focus going on to the actual in-ring stuff, but as a match, the whole entertaining from bell to bell, all the other antics, it was great. I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad that it happened. The first actual match advertised on the main card, even though the Don Callis one bled over, is Pac versus Darby. Now, I predicted Pac to win, And Pac did win. I predicted Pac to destroy Darby. He didn't destroy Darby, but Darby was seriously weakened by the burns because of blood and guts. One of my favourite parts of the match is obviously Darby comes out wrapped, safety because of the burns. And Pac unwraps his arm and then starts doing a Chinese burn to the burns. I thought that was incredible. I love that. That was one of my favourite parts of the night. I thought Pac looked really good, as per usual, but he looked a bit more up to speed. He looked like he was letting himself brutalised out. Not to the extent I thought he would, but I thought he looked a lot more brutal compared to how he did in the trios match. And Darby obviously sold it all like a champ. The finish involved... Pac was getting beat with the scorpion locks and stuff. Darby didn't look weak at all. But it wasn't a domination. But then Pac's out and he's telling Yuta to come in. Yuta does the distraction like it did in the Dynamite week where he distracted Orange Cassidy at the uppercut from Claudio. And Yuta distracts Darby. And then Pac gets the win. Good win. Solid finish. I like the fact that they're using Yuta as basically a guinea pig now. So it kind of favours that. I'm kind of picking it back up, to be honest, that he is nothing more than just their animal to abuse, essentially, right? Like, he's not really seen as the guy, especially since Garcia's come in. So I kind of like that a lot. Good match, as you would kind of expect. Pac looked great. Darby looked great too. Second was the women's four-way tag match, which is Tony and Mina, Marina and Megan Bain, Sisters of Sin, Sky Blue and Julia Hart, and Willow and Harley. I predicted Sisters of Sin to win. They did not. I was very surprised about that. As a match, it was pretty good. Frankly, I thought it was very much centered on Tony and Marina, which no problem with that at all. There wasn't a lot of tag focus, which I kind of expected. I thought Megan looked really good. Megan Bain, she the main real big woman of the match. Stuff like that. I thought it was honestly a really interesting match for how the ending played. In the sense of, in ring, it was kind of just like spots galore. It was kind of a spot fest, which is nothing wrong with that. But then after that, the ending, the finish essentially, Tony won, which, no shock. I was surprised that they'd done that because I thought they were going to really go for the Sisters of Sin to win to basically elevate the interest in that match rather than the Tony versus Marina and Megan Bain one. I kind of like that they did that because it kind of gives you more intrigue. It's weird. It's a weird kind of thing to portray and kind of describe. So, but as a match, it was fun. Women's 8-man tag, it's great. So, don't know what people expected. It was good. Not really much more to say. It's not really one I'd go back and rewatch, but it was a good match, you know what I mean? After this was one of my matches of the night in terms of definitely in-ring, but also interest, everything about it, which is Brodito versus FTR for the AEW World Tag Championships. I predicted FTR to win, and FTR did win. As a match, I thought it was excellent. I thought it was one of the best matches of the night. It was if you said this was your match of the night, wouldn't argue with it at all. Completely get that. Bandito specifically showed out ridiculously this match. They played a little small Stokely thing before the match. I didn't really get that. But Bandito, again, his raw strength is ridiculous. There's one point where he just lifts up Brody and slams him on, which is normally the other way around. Oh my God, blew my head. There's a point where he picks up both of FTR and slams them. Oh my God, what a workout. What a wrestler. Honestly, what a wrestler. And FTR themselves, you can never deny their quality as a tag team, especially since they turned heel, especially just all in all. But in ring, they've never been doubted. One of the best tag teams I've ever seen. Second to one, to be perfectly honest. And as a match, I mean, the pace, the crowd were really up for it. I'll speak about the crowd a bit. With the pre-show, I've never seen a crowd that excited, debatably, since All In. And the crowd were really into the pre-show. They were really hot. And then throughout the match, this is probably the hottest it got to a period. At around this period of time, up until about the second to last match, it was really hot. There was definitely a bit of fatigue, and I'll speak about that when I talk about the later matches. But as a crowd for this match specifically, it was really hot. There was there was a lot of energy into this. And Bandido and Brody obviously carry a lot of that. They get the crowd going. I think that's a very not spoke about aspect of their teamwork and just their performances. Technical wrestling. I mean, FTR, you're always going to get phenomenal technical wrestling. I didn't think Brody was involved a lot, but I think it's kind of hard to have a lot of Brody spots when in reality he could just kill the pair of them. So it's kind of hard to kind of portray that. But yeah, as a match, great, phenomenal match. Really enjoyed it. Would I say it was my match of the night, which I predicted it would be going in? No, it wasn't my match of the night. But that's not because of anything. And if you ask why I am not crying, I already got them all out. I've got no more tears left. I'll talk about Brodido as a tag team probably in another video. But what a team. Please don't break that up. Please, that's genuinely one of my biggest asks coming out of Full Gear. Don't break this up. So after that match was the Casino Gauntlet for the AEW National Belt. Now, we already knew Shelton and Bobby were the first two picks. That was always going to be interesting. The crowd was definitely hot for that. And then after that, we didn't know how many, didn't know who was next, obviously. Stuff like that. These type of matches are never really focused on the in-ring spectacle. They never are. They're just more focused on the surprise parts. They come and get the spots. And then that's it, really. So the main thing was number 3, which I'm very happy I predicted this. And the eventual winner was Ricochet. And he was third in. Ricochet come out with the mic like he did in Dynamite this week. Just gone. And he calls out Bobby and stuff. And then he has the GOA, part of his faction, the Demand, attack Shelton and Bobby to a really bad extent. Then he starts taking out MVP. Then he does like a weird breakdance move when the next entrances come out. And it was fun. It was a really fun match. I'll go through who the people were in the match right now because honestly I need to look away and see who it all was. I can name some, but I want to get them all right. Next entrance was Claudio. Claudio, when he comes, he looked menacing. Claudio looked like a different man. Whole Death Rider stuff going on. We haven't seen Claudio as consistently, so this was really nice to see him. It was a shock. When it showed Ricochet's face when Claudio's theme hit, it was phenomenal. Great sell. And when he come out, Ricochet sets up a dive out the ropes, and Claudio catches him with the uppercut. Oh my god, I love that. I really enjoyed how he hit that move. I'll just go through them. I won't really speak about orders. So you had, it was Garcia next, and then you got Daddy Magic, which I was really happy that they done that. I didn't expect that. I was quite, really surprised about that. I thought that was great. I don't think Daddy Magic was after Danny Garcia, to be honest. Would be focused on that, obviously. Forgetting about order because I can't really find a way. You had, so it was Bobby, Shelton, Ricochet, Claudio, Yuta eventually entered, and Danny Garcia. When they happened, they all teamed up, and Ricochet tried to join in, and that went wrong. You obviously got Daddy Magic, you got Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong. I was very happy I predicted a good few of these people. I thought they were very solid picks, and most of them were in the match. Claudio was a great surprise. Oh, Speedball and Kevin Knight. Now, that, because obviously Jet Speed is a tag team, they had a moment where they done a sequence together. That was brilliant. Two athletic guys like that, and obviously in a tag team, know each other so well. That was great. Honestly, what a little sequence. The only other person I can remember being in the match that I haven't talked about was Mark Davis. Mark Davis done quite well when he entered the ring, I thought, actually. Which Mark Davis has been impressing me more and more I'm seeing him. And yeah, Ricochet got the win. He is your first AEW national champ. Great pick. Perfect call. Perfect call for that. And just as a match, it's a spot fest. But honestly, fun. Quite fun. I didn't expect to see Claudio. I was really surprised about that. But yeah, Ricochet, 100% the right call. So, next was possibly one of the other matches of the night in terms of intrigue. And in ring, to be honest, it was Mox versus Kyle O'Reilly, no hards barred. Now, Moxley versus Kyle O'Reilly has proven it's going to be great. Especially the work recently. Especially, all about it. It was an easy layup for a match. And as soon as it got in, Kyle set the intensity really well. Got the ankle lock straight away. That's obviously how it's finished. And they really stuck to the guns with it. I thought, I was, at this point, because it was late and I was just kind of just lying down, I did nod off a tiny bit. So I feel like I missed a bit of the match. But the main things I seen, they were phenomenal. Just Mox in general sold the hell out of that match. O'Reilly looked brutal, which is great to see. And just as a match, again, it's kind of what you expect, but there's no problem with that. The main talking points are going to be after the match, which what you expect with the Death Rider stuff. I will talk about it. So the ankle lock again happened, and Mox obviously tapped out. Now, there was no Death Riders who ran out. Marina was there throughout the match. She was staring at Mox, but she didn't help out. And after the match, so Moxley tapped out again. And Marina, you could see Marina. She looked devastated. She looked like upset, disappointed, every single negative connotation you could think, staring at Moxley. Moxley's given acknowledgement, like going, yeah, fair play to Kyle and stuff, as Kyle just stares through him. Then Moxley goes to leave when the Death Riders not even there. It's still just him and Marina at this point. Moxley turns around, shakes his head, and goes back to attack Kyle. Now at this point, Roddy and Orange Cassidy come out to help Kyle, and the other Death Riders are showing up, mainly Claudio. And Moxley's, doing the whole thing where he's screaming, everyone's screaming, you tapped out, he's losing his mind, he's really rattled, and just the looks that he gets. And there's a main point people are really picking up on, which is great, because it's really important. No one leaves besides Moxley until Claudio gives a nod to go. So Claudio, in my opinion, has taken over. It's happening, 100%. We'll talk about a backstage promo after the match. Moxley's losing his mind, saying it doesn't matter. Clearly in denial again, rambling. And the looks, oh my God, I'll put them up now. The looks he gets from the Death Riders, he is getting slimed beyond belief. Jesus. I cannot emphasize how he is going to die. And just all this because of Kyle O'Reilly, which, what a worker, what a year. They've kind of said he's not going to be in the C2 at this point, which is sad. But I'm kind of upset about that. But it might be a work. Who knows? Because he did look hurt during the match. But again, because he got beat down by Moxley and stuff. But if anyone's deserved a break, it's Kyle O'Reilly. What a worker. Triple crown for him. Please. Great match. One of the matches of the night. Again, not my match of the night, because my match of the night is next, which was the TNT championship match between Kyle Fletcher and Mark Briscoe. And it was a no disqualification, which I forgot to mention in the preview. I predicted Kyle to win, because if Kyle won, Mark Briscoe would join the Don Callis family. Mark Briscoe won. Impossibly one of the greatest moments in wrestling this year since All In. What a moment, honestly, what a moment. Briscoe, they'd done a little video package before it, that kind of sealed the win for me. But then just everything about Briscoe, the match itself was phenomenal. The amount of stuff they got put through the tables, the Briscoe crushes a ladder really quick. He gets pushed around. Fletcher just looks great in the match. He's bleeding quite early on. The blade job Briscoe runs as per usual, what we expect, was still insane. Very few wrestlers that deserve that more than Mark Briscoe. I'm completely comfortable saying that. What a wrestler. And honestly, TNT, belt for him, perfect. Perfect call. Honestly, that's his level. He'll get the best out of it. You'll get reliable, solid bangers out of him every week. Honestly, nothing wrong with that at all. I was really happy with that. Really happy with that result. Again, the match was brutal. It really was. That was personally my match of the night. There's just so much going on. I'm kind of overwhelmed which one to talk about. The ladder spot was the main one for me, where he literally just goes through the ladder. The crowd, this is where the crowd was at its just highest point of the night, where it was so hard. I think everyone wanted Briscoe to win. It was the hardest one to call for the night, I thought, going into it, and just everything about it. That for me was the peak of the night. Honestly, it really was. I thought it was phenomenal. The stuff when Kyle got the screwdriver again, stabbing Briscoe. There's a point where he puts it in the turnbuckle upside down and teases the brainbuster onto that. Oh my God, I was baffled. And then the obvious stabbing spots, stuff like that. The screwdrivers, there's such a great, how he used that against Dustin Rhodes. But that with the turnbuckle really surprised me. Briscoe was red and they teased that as well. And after the Moxley spike spot in the back a few months ago, I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. So the skewers, that's Moxley, but Briscoe's not far behind. With Briscoe will bleed like 2 gallons just for a TV match. He's just built like that. But yeah, Mark Briscoe, TNT champion. Love that. Love that decision. Didn't predict it, but I love it. Really happy with that. Great moment. And I'm just surprised they took the belt off Fletcher. Now, what is important to note is, this was later on in the night, but they did a backstage segment, and it was Don Callis talking about what happened throughout the night with Okada and Takeshita, and Okada was trying to blame Takeshita for their match earlier on. Don Callis was saying give him a break, he's got the Continental Classic to worry about, to defend the belts. And Takeshita declares himself for the Continental Classic. Most obvious layup ever. Then Kyle runs out, this is brilliant. Kyle runs out, and he's just covered in blood, and he screams at the pair of them going, Proto Okada, Proto Shita, you're supposed to be my friends. You didn't even come out and help me with that belt. And now look, you've got your belts, I've got no belts. What's going on? And both of them are clearly affected by the words because of the whole Proto Shita, Proto Okada thing. And Kyle Fletcher said that's not going to be a problem because I'm entering the Continental Classic and taking a belt too, which was oh God. And he storms off. And then Okada tries to blame Takeshita for it. But the fact that the first 3 contestants we got confirmed for the Continental Classic is Okada we knew about, Takeshita, it was the easiest layup ever, and Fletcher, which I wanted, but I didn't think it'd happen. Great segment, and I'm very glad they're doing this. After this match was Kenny Omega and Jurassic Express versus the Young Bucks and Josh Alexander. Now, throughout the night in the last few weeks, the Young Bucks have been trying to being forced into the Don Callis family, and they don't want to, clearly. They're clearly against it. But this match is for $1 million, which the Bucks are still broke. As a match, it was at its best when it was Kenny versus Josh Alexander. Josh Alexander, I thought, stole the show. But Perry was great too. And it was just great. Everything about this one was good. The Bucks in these type of matches always steal the show in a way. They're just the dynamic because they're so smooth. They really picked up on the Josh Alexander and the Bucks not getting along. They hit each other a lot. I think they hit each other's finishes on it. They super kicked Josh Alexander when they were out getting out the ring. Kenny versus Alexander got a bit brutal at points. Stuff like that. Luchasaurus, I didn't think was involved that much from what I can recall, but it was fun. It was honestly wasn't really anything special. It was a fun match. Josh Alexander and the Bucks' dynamic was a lot of it. And the finish, the end of the match resulted in the Bucks and Alexander winning, which was great. So they won the $1 million, and they go up, grab the bags, and walk off. Don Callis is leading them forward. They looked a bit reluctant, but then the rest of some of the Don Callis family, maybe mainly Mark Davis and stuff, come out and start attacking Kenny and the Jurassic Express. And the Bucks are very reluctant, and obviously the crowd's really hot for this moment because everyone knows what's coming. And the Bucks run back and save Kenny and fight the rest of the Don Callis family off. Wow. And it results in the Don Callis family standing at the top of the ramp, bewildered, and the Bucks go up and shake hands with Jurassic Express, which that's been a built-up moment in itself for a few weeks now. Months, even if you want to go back to the Jack Perry and the Elite stuff. And then it builds to the Kenny and Bucks moment, which obviously Elite. Crowd's going mental for it. The crowd's going, be Elite, be Elite, stuff like that. And they reference the Kenny Okada reuniting, where they put their hands out and Kenny slaps them both away, turns back, and they just embrace, and everyone loses their mind. Everyone loves it, as you would. It's the Elite are back. The trio is back. The trio's belts are theirs. That's the agenda. And they, when they're walking off, they do the whole hangman thing where they go, I'm not going out this time, I'm going out the face. They get told, and the Bucks are faces again. And the Elite is back. Love that. Love that whole little thing. The fact that they done the Kenny and Kota thing where they hugged after they smacked the hand away. Great reference, great callback, everything about that. The match itself, just great, you know what I mean? What you expect from a Kenny in these type of matches. There's not really much I can really say from the top of my head, and these videos get long enough anyway. I'm sorry if I'm not going in depth as much as you want if you're still watching. These matches are just chaotic and fun, and this was honestly the last match the crowd was hyped for, but we'll talk about that next now. Penultimate match of the night is Chris Statlander versus Mercedes Moné for the AEW Women's World Championship, and predicted Statlander to win. Statlander did win, and this match, I think this match was great. I do. I think technically everything about it was great. They sold Statlander sells an injury from the start quite early on. So she's holding the arm like this for a lot of the match, like she has broke it. I think it might be a work, but I'm not sure. It affects the speed and the intensity of the match, but as a match itself, it was just fun. It wasn't really that fun, but it was entertaining. It was very technical, and honestly, the win was great. The crowd was really fatigued at this point, and I think that was because they got really hyped for the pre-show, which makes sense. This match, I think the crowd, if you give this crowd like a shot or something, right, like a certain bit more energy, this match does elevate. But as a match itself, from a technical point of view, is excellent. It really is. There was a lot of hold work. I remember the main part of the match before it was over was when Statlander got the crossface over Mercedes. Mercedes sold everything like an absolute, what you expect from Mercedes, like a champ. And just the fact that the crowd win as this, it kind of disheartened me that they didn't really fall for this match. It was just a tired thing. And I just think if you put that in another position, I don't think there was a problem with the pacing or the placements and stuff. I don't. I think it was just the crowd. The crowd was that hype because the hard card was that stacked that you cannot have 100% energy for everything. Just felt like the wrong match to have that, right? So it's kind of weird. But yeah, Statlander retained. Just a fun match against great Statlander show out. I don't think it was as good as their previous two matches, but then again, like I said, the crowd has a big part to play in that. Now, the main event, which I've debated making a separate video for this all in all, but I'm just going to talk about the main things that happened and then make a video later talking about what I think this means, because this is huge. This was Hangman versus Samoa Joe in a steel cage for the AEW Men's World Championship. Now, I thought personally this was the easiest lock of the night. I was horrifically wrong. Earlier on in the night, because during the build for this match, Hangman's been trying to say that he's taken out Shibata and Hobbs before the match. So Joe's on his own. So Joe was like, I've got all these people in the Ops dojo. There's basically an army, and saying, I'm not alone. I'll never be alone. Stuff like that. Basically, he's got an army now. And the steel cage, so they walked him out with him. And then Hangman entered with American Venom from Red Dead Redemption 2 was Hangman's entrance. That is the greatest thing I've ever seen. That was phenomenal. Red Dead 2 for me is probably the best game I've ever played. I love Red Dead 2. And obviously Hangman, perfect. No complaints. The fact that the crowd went up for this match as what I thought it would be was quite surprising. But that entrance with American Venom for Hangman, it felt, knowing the result, it felt like a lovely send-off. Like, this guy's going to go out standing, right? And I love that. I loved it. It gives a different feel now in the context. But even during it, watching it live, I could have been just that tired. But it was just, I don't know, it just had a whole different vibe. And I loved that. I will say, the blade job Samoa Joe pulled in this match was phenomenal. Phenomenal. Bleeding very early on. Hangman gets a lot of locks in, especially around trying to get basically Joe's signature choke out. And then it just starts going mental after that point. It wasn't the longest cage match either. It was the shortest pay-per-view main event AEW's ever done, actually. And it felt it. Shibata comes out with the belt trying to give it up to Joe. Climbs on the cage and Eddie Kingston runs out. And Eddie Kingston drags Shibata off and throws Shibata and they chase away. Then Hobbs comes out. Now Hobbs, the ref's down all this time. And the ref, Hobbs comes out and just breaks the chain Mark Henry style and enters the cage. Hangman takes him out. And takes Hangman out, but he's also taken out, so they're all down. And then Hook comes in. Now Hook obviously has history with the Ops, because Hobbs took his place and stuff. And he comes out, he goes up, Hook runs in, shakes the ref, goes, ref, get up, you know what I mean, in the match. And then smiles at the camera while he lifts the belt up, hits Hangman with the belt. Hangman's out. He takes the crowd reacted for that. Past this point, when the interference was happening, the crowd was hot. Again, it kind of like a second jolt. And they took the hoodie off. He had the op shirt on. It was like Hobbs is going, he never left. He hugs Joe. Commentary's losing, saying, Brian's going, did he even leave? And then Samoa Joe gets the pin. And Samoa Joe is, again, second time new AEW Men's World Champion. What a moment. What a surprise. What a shock. Everything about it. I'm not upset with Samoa Joe. I'm heartbroken in a way that Hangman's reign's over. But it's not wrong with that shorter reign. People are complaining. People are upset. Not surprised in a way because Hangman's so beloved. Myself included. Love that man. But what a finish. What a surprise. Honestly, what a surprise. And it doesn't end there. So Joe's bleeding. He's got everyone around him. It's the whole ops. The cage is up. And basically, Hangman's just lying on the floor. Basically dead. And the ops are just celebrating. Joe's got this whole mafia boss-esque Tony Soprano vibe about him now. The entire arena goes black. I thought this was MJF. No. New theme. Nana's on the stage. Swerve's back. Shocked me. Looking back on it, how I didn't think Swerve would return is beyond me. But Swerve's back in AEW. He walks down. Joe's like, everyone's about to attack, and Joe goes, no, leave it, don't worry. It gets everyone to part it like it's the Red Sea. There's this shot where Hangman's like that, basically on the floor, and you'd Swerve looking down on him. Because you don't know which way this going to go. It's the first time we've seen Swerve and Hangman since All In. And Joe's like, here's, we've got your guy here for you on the plate. And then, oh my God, what a moment. And then Swerve just, like Arkham Batman, genuine like Arkham Batman, takes everyone out. And just, it's just a great moment. Takes all the ops things out. And then there's one left who's behind. Swerve's staring at Joe while he's on the ramp with him. The rest of the ops, which Hook's now a part of the ops. Eddie's gone at this point. And there's one who's about to attack Swerve, and Hangman takes him out with the buckshot. And both of those guys, Swerve and Hangman, the two most arch rivals in modern day wrestling, are standing side by side. Hangman looks psychotic again. Oh my God. You could see the instant reaction. I was dumbfounded. What a moment. I'm so hyped. And just, they're standing side by side. That's the image they end on. Hangman looks psychotic. It looks like they've just had the war again, but they're on the same page. They come to a middle ground. Not an understanding, a middle ground. Joe's the new champ. Oh my word. What this means is phenomenal. This is going to be phenomenal. I'll talk about that again because this video is long enough. AEW Full Gear for me was not what I expected. Was not what I expected at all in any sense. And that's not a bad thing. I thought the card was phenomenal. I thought the card had some issues, but it was not perfect. I don't think it was its best card of the year, but it was the most thought-provoking, if that makes sense, for an AEW pay-per-view. It made me think. It's made me just everything about it. I loved everything about it, especially more. It's made me. I can't not forget that end. The way they ended that pay-per-view is phenomenal. The moments they had, Briscoe winning the belt. Brodido, unfortunately, losing. FTR, new champs. There's a lot of changes, but not too many. I was surprised about the lack of returns in a way, but I'm glad about it because I thought they'd do too many, and they never, which is great. With stuff like Casino Gauntlet, it's easy to do that, and they never. And just, they focused on what they knew. They had one big return, which was integral, and it was perfect. Honestly, a lot of that card was great. The crowd clearly had suffered from fatigue, but there's nothing wrong with that. And just, honestly, some of the matches here are phenomenal. I can't wait, honestly. I'm not going to talk too much about the future because that'll be the next video. But honestly, what a card. I really enjoyed Full Gear. I really did. One of my favourite cards of the year so far. Just everything about it. Recency bias, true, but what a card. What an ending too. What did you think about Full Gear? Because just briefly, again, some of the shots we got, some of the imagery we got from this pay-per-view are 10 out of 10s. But what did you think? What was your favourite match? What was your highlight of the night? Probably the ending, but can't wait. And your next video, this is probably going to take about 3 hours to upload to TikTok, but we'll talk about what this means because this changes everything.